Our Father also means that God is our source, God is our sustainer, our Father. So when you are coming to the place of prayer, you are having in mind that you are not coming to a boss, you are coming to your Father. Our Father. In fact, that alone is enough reason why you should depend your life on prayer. Our Father. That was the place he said, if your Father knows how to give you a bad gift, how much more your Father in heaven? Can you still remember that scripture in Luke chapter 7? How much more? The Bible said, will a child ask for bread and his father will give him a stone? Will he ask for fish and the father will give him a serpent? If your father being evil, God was saying our own father, they are evil, and yet in their evil they will not give us stone for bread. How much more your Father in heaven? And I came to tell you, your physical father is just a caretaker. Your true father is the one in heaven. It is prayer adventure. Are you still with me here now? It is prayer adventure that makes you to be in tandem with your Father. So it means that a man that is not saved, the only prayer he can pray and God will hear is the prayer of salvation. A man that is not saved, the only prayer he can pray, because the scripture said the prayer of sinners is abomination before God. So when he said our Father, it means that the room to people that engage prayer is limited. Are you following me now? Because he's your Father, there is nothing you can tell him that he cannot take care of. Then the second thing there now is our Father in heaven. That word in heaven is telling you that there is no problem you bring before your Father that he cannot solve. It's not your Father in Russia, it's not your Father in Paris. Your Father in heaven means that there is nothing you tell him in prayer he can answer, because the Bible said he that is above is what? Above all. If you have this understanding, it means that there is nothing. In fact, for a man that prays, there is no impossibility. The reason is because the person you are praying for is in heaven, and in heaven there is no impossibility. Am I helping you here now? What I'm trying to teach you is the rule of engagement. When I come to the place of prayer, I'm not afraid to ask God what I need. I'm not afraid, because where he's staying in heaven has given him the capacity to meet all my needs. The Bible said, my God shall supply all my needs according to what? His riches in glory. When men spend, they spend money. When God spends, he spends glory. And because glory cannot be exhausted, there is nothing you ask God that can be exhausted. Are you following me to this point here now? It is your Father in heaven, not your Father in Ijobo. You see, your Father in UK can have network problem, but your Father in heaven does not know network. Your Father somewhere in Paris can be sick and it can disappoint, but your Father in heaven cannot disappoint. In fact, your Father in heaven is closer to you than your breath. Your Father in heaven, are you still with me here now? Your Father in heaven knows things before you ask him. Your asking him is a show of acknowledgement. Your Father in heaven. Your Father in heaven is bringing to your notice that there is nothing he cannot meet. He can meet all your needs. Nothing. Your Father in heaven is a specialist in raising the poor from the doggy and set him upon kings and thrones. Your Father in heaven. Your Father in heaven has a track record of making out of nothing something. Your Father in heaven can call light out of darkness. In his realm there is no impossibility. Your Father in heaven. You need to have the revelation of your Father in heaven for you to enjoy prayer. Your Father in heaven can make a woman without womb to conceive. Your Father in heaven can make a girl everybody has written off to become a queen, just like Esther. How do you explain the story of Esther? She was a slave of a slave. She was 7 years when her father died. She was exposed to slavery very early, and it happens that when she was exposed to slavery, Babylon came and conquered Israel. She now became a slave of a slave. How do you explain that a slave become a queen? If you have told her 20 years before reality, she say, forget that story. Your Father in heaven does not need your past to determine your future. He just needs your willingness to engage him. Somebody's not hearing me here. There's nothing he can do. I'm saying about, you don't need connection provided you have the connection of your Father in heaven. You can be in Okaya, he can be telling somebody in South Africa, you must favor my daughter. He's telling you that there's nothing he can't do. There's nothing. How do you explain that a woman of 90 years took in, even though her womb was dry, there was atrophy of the womb? It is because in the realm your Father in heaven operates, there is no, I wish this revelation will enter somebody. There's no distance with time before him. There's nothing impossible. In fact, for God, impossible means I am possible. Nothing impossible for him. Your Father in heaven, he's not limited by time. You are the one saying is a delay. He's not delay until you look at your Father in heaven. The thing you call delay may just be temporary preparation for something great. Your Father in heaven can sometimes position you, and you may be calling it delay somehow, but it may be a preparation for something great, a greater glory. In his realm there is no delay. Your Father in heaven does not come late. Anytime it looks as if he's coming late, is to make you the latest. You know, some of you said, I graduated 30 years. When my husband come, you don't know anything about your Father in heaven. Your Father in heaven can turn your mistake to miracles. He's a specialist. Oh my God. You know, many people make him to look like an angry God. Your Father in heaven loves you more than the way you love yourself. You don't know. Your Father in heaven has a better interest for you. You know, many of you think you love yourself. You have not seen how much your Father in heaven loves you. But the reason why you are not tapping to the love of your Father in heaven is simply because you don't know how to engage him in prayer. So Jesus was saying, if you want to approach him, don't approach him as a judge. Approach him as what? If you want to clap, you can clap. Don't approach him as a judge. You know, that is how you meet a judge in court. When you meet a judge in court, you don't smile there. But because he's your Father, you can laugh with him. You can talk with him. If you understand he's your Father, you're supposed to have a robust prayer life. Many of you have seen your Father in heaven as the Lord of hosts that always fights battles. Every time it's battle, you are coming with for him to fight battle. Battle every time. But there's no relationship. Because he's your Father, he craves more for relationship. He craves more for fellowship because he's your Father. And you understand what I'm saying now? You see, let me tell you something. The things that is bothering you is bothering your Father in heaven more. Whatever you think that you are going through, him himself is going through that thing. He's asking, when will you submit that thing to him? You know, there's something I know about your Father in heaven. He respects privacy. Your Father in heaven will not force himself on you until you come to him. Are you following me up to this point here now? So you see your Father in heaven. Your Father in heaven is the best thing that can happen to you. Your Father in heaven numbered your hair. He didn't count it. He numbered your hair. He said the very hair of your head, they are all numbered. Meaning, that day you are combing your head, the day 1,405 fair, your Father in heaven knew that was the number of hair. He numbered, he didn't count. All your hairs were numbered. In fact, he said, you are the apple of my eye. Anyone that touches you touches the apple of my eye. Your Father in heaven said, I've written you upon my palms. Every day I glean at you. And the reason why you don't utilize what your Father in heaven can do is because you don't know prayer. If you know prayer, you will notice that he has greater ambition for you than you have for yourself. Are you following me up to this point here now? So he said, your Father in heaven. When you come to God, don't come to God like a principal. You are coming to meet a principal. Come that you are coming to meet a man that does not know impossibility. What God cannot do does not exist. That is your Father in heaven. It is him to prove a point to a basin. He will use basket to fetch water. Your Father in heaven. The Bible said he's not a man that he should lie. Do you know, one day I was praying, God was telling me that he can't lie. He's wondering how people used to lie. He wants to lie. He wants to lie. He wants to try to lie, but he can't lie. Do you know now, if you and God come to this place and you people left here and God now started saying this thing is pink, this speaker is pink, you'll not be angry with God. Why are you saying it's pink? We saw it is black now. Because it's God that said if he come back to see it, it will be pink. In his DNA there is no lie. Anything he said comes to pass. This is the person we are talking to. If you understand this person, why are you not living like a beggar? Why are you giving room to depression? Your Father in heaven can feel the best of the field. The best of the field, they don't sow. They don't need to go and wear khaki. They know that something most comforting. The Bible said they neither sow. You look at you now, you're already depressed. Where am I going after service? You're already depressed. Which job? The Bible said the best of the field in Matthew chapter 6. They neither sow nor reap. How do your Father feed them? That day you want to clean your maize or your rice. You don't know what touches you and something fell on the floor. It was your father in the Lord, it was your father in heaven that said, my children, the best must eat, let this one fall. So that morning they came and they ate it and they start thanking him. Who told you he cannot make things work out for you? Many of you are using your number 6 to calculate your destiny. Your destiny is bigger than what you can think. All he needs from you is trust and obey. The best you do to yourself is to start having high blood pressure. Sometimes you see a young believer depressed. He does not know you have a father. There's a song I used to like. I have a father that will never fail me. Do you know that song? Very powerful song. He can never fail you. You are busy thinking what is the way forward. You see, as you are busy thinking how to start, he's busy thinking how you will end, if you will end well. He's not for himself, that job is already concluded. For him, the marriage is concluded. He's hoping that you will not disappoint him if he brings the breakthrough to you. I'm talking about your father where? In heaven. If you understand that you have a father in heaven, you will not join men in the rat race. If you understand you have a father in heaven, things that move others should not move you. Are you understanding what I'm saying here now? Somebody threatens you that he's going to kill you. Can you kill God? We are talking about your father that put your life in Jesus and Jesus in God. If anybody wants to get you, first of all get Jesus and bring Jesus out. Then he now gets God and bring God before he gets you. If they can't get Jesus, they can't get you. How come you are giving room to fear of premature death? I'm speaking to somebody. Something is telling you will die when you are giving birth. Something is telling you that you will not give birth. Something is telling you after service you will die. Why? How come? Don't you know if your father can take care of the sparrows, he can take care of you? While you are sleeping, he's fighting for you. He goes to places where you don't know. Where they call your name, he's the one that responds. As you are sleeping, if God opens your eye to see the battle your father is fighting for you, oh my God, you will stay in prayer. The one that created sleep and yet he does not sleep. He does not sleep. He created sleep yet he does not sleep. While you work 12 hours and you are resting 6 hours, he's working for you. As they are making concoction, he's there representing you. If God opens your eye and show you the battles he has saved you from, you will know that this is your father in the Lord, your father in heaven. There is none like him. Your father in heaven. Can we just thank him in 1 minute for all he has done for us? In 1 minute. In 1 minute. In 1 minute. You know, when he said your father, is to increase the appetite of prayer. Your father. Remember how he helped you in school? Remember that course that would have kept you in school? He came through for you. He came through for you. How come you are forgetting so easy? How come you are forgetting so easily? Remember that course that would have kept you back. Remember that lecturer that vowed that you will not pass. And God said, who is he that said a thing and it comes to pass? Who is he that said a thing? Remember how he saved you from that accident. Remember that bike accident. It was as if a hand came. Remember how he saved you. Remember how he saved your family from that sickness. Sometimes even when you don't pray, he comes through for you. Even though you don't pray, he comes through for you.